The special favor of Allah, Awliya Allah. The universe is the body and its soul. Awliya Allah, Awliya Allah.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'awudhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah. MashaAllah, viewers of Madani Channel, welcome to this special series of programs yesterday, today and tomorrow. And in these series of programs, we look at the rich heritage that the Muslims have. We look to our past, we look at our pious predecessors, we look at the lives of the companions of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we look at the seerah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we learn something from it. We learn something from their lives, we learn something from yesterday, so that we can have a better today, so that we can make a change today, so that we can have a better tomorrow. And that is the idea, that we look to the past, we look at our pious personalities of the past and see how they lived their life, and hopefully we can achieve something from that. But before we begin, we're going to give you a blessing of reciting Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we give you this with the intention that if you act upon it, then inshallah, we'll inshallah all become habitual on reciting Durud Pak. Secondly, if you remember the blessings and pass it on to others, then inshallah other people can become habitual in reciting Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, and we can all attain the reward as well. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the gathering in which people do not praise Allah Azza wa Jal and do not send salat upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be a means of regret on the day of judgment. If Allah wills, Allah will punish them. And if He wills, He will forgive them. Allahu Akbar. Basically, you can take a lot of messages from that basically whatever gathering that you're in, if in that gathering you're not praising Allah, you're not sending Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then what are you achieving? Every gathering there is blessings if you recite Durud Pak, if you praise Allah. So make it a habit to remember Allah, to praise Allah, to send salutations upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that we can be amongst those fortunate people whose name, inshallah, read on the day of judgment. That this person, son of so-and-so, read, or daughter of so-and-so, read salutations upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in abundance. And whenever you hear any saying where it says read it in abundance, the pious predecessors have said that if a person recites it 313 times a day as a minimum, then he will be classed amongst those people who recite Durud Pak in abundance. Viewers of Madani Channel, we are in the month of Safar, and if you watch Madani Channel, then you realize this is a special month for the lovers of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because in this month we remember a lover. We remember a true devotee, a true lover of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala, the great Imam of his time, the great scholar of the East, the reviver of the faith, the person who, possibly it could be said that if it was not for him, then it'd be hard to imagine what state we would be in today. And today, inshallah, we're going to learn a little bit about him, inshallah, about his life, about his worship, about his righteousness, about his character, and about some aspects of his life. And hopefully we can learn something from this. And in relating these parables from the past, we try to learn something as well. I'm not just here to be a good storyteller. I'm not here to, let's have a good story, let's sit down and let's listen to the story. I'm here to give you a message from the past, to learn from the past, to learn from their lives of how maybe we should try and follow in their footsteps. So the first incident that I want to mention to you was regards his character with regards to how he didn't like arrogant people. And it stated that the Khalifa of Imam Ahmad Raza Khan, Rahmatullah Ta'ala, Mulana Sayyid Ayub Rahmatullah Ta'ala, and sometimes he mentions a man would visit Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullah Ta'ala, and sometimes he would visit that man too. So this person would come and visit Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, and Sayyidi Ala Hazrat would go and visit him. On one occasion, Imam Ahmad Raza Khan was with this person whilst a poor man from the village was sitting on a broken bed towards the edge of the courtyard. The man who was the owner of the home, he began to look at the poor person angrily, that why are you sitting there? He looked at him in such an angry way that that person felt embarrassed, felt ashamed. And he got up, he didn't say anything, but just the way that he was looking, the arrogance that he was looking down on that person got up and left. Obviously, he was embarrassed, he was ashamed, and he left there. Sometime later, that person now came to the court of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. And when Sayyidi Ala Hazrat came, when he came to his court and he was sitting there, a barber by the name of Kareem Baksh, he arrived to trim the beard of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. And when he came in and he was standing there, Sayyidi Ala Hazrat approached him and said to him, "Why are you standing? Come here and sit down." And on purpose, he made him sit next to that person who looked down on that poor person when he was in his house. On purpose, he said, "Sit here next to him. Why are you sitting? Sit here." And this person, he got angry, seeing that, why is it that this poor person is sitting next to me, this barber is sitting next to me? And he got up angrily and left the gathering. And he said that after that person, he never returned, and that personality, Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, were never visited him, and he never visited Sayyidi Ala Hazrat again. Now, this incident there teaches us a lot in that particular parable. The great Imam is telling us, he's telling us that regardless of whether you are great, rich, respected, lofty, whatever your state in society is, doesn't mean to say that you should look down on people. You may have wealth, you may have all sorts of things, but you cannot look down on people. You shouldn't be looking down on people. And this arrogance, we should remove from ourselves. And nowadays, unfortunately, we have this, that we see that when we get a little bit of money, we get a little bit of wealth, get a little bit of power, get a little bit of education, get a little bit of a status, then we start looking down on people. And viewers and child, this is our test. That wealth that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, that status that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, that power that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, that education that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, you are now being tested with it. That how are you reacting with people, how are you dealing with people now that Allah Azza wa Jalla has blessed you with this? And if you're going to continue to look down on people, if you're going to have this arrogance inside you that I am better than you, how are you better than them? How can you say that I am better than someone else just because I've got more money? Just because I have more education? Just because I have a status? Just because I have a better job? Just because I have a better car? Just because I have a better house? Does that make you better? One question. Does it make you better? It might make you better in the sight of certain individuals. It might make you better in sight of people that are working for you. They're looking up to the boss. MashaAllah, look at him. Wow, look what he's achieved. And they're looking up to you. But a question I want to ask you, does it make you better in the sight of Allah? That education, that wealth, that status, that power, does it make you better in the sight of Allah? And if it does not, and with a surety it does not, just by having that, does not make you better in the sight of Allah. And if as a result of that thing, them blessings that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you, you develop arrogance inside yourself, then not only you're thinking you're better in the sight, you're worse in the sight, you're lowering your status in the sight of Allah. And so we should be very careful about how we treat people, how we look down on people, how we talk to people. We should never consider anybody lower than anybody else. And I've worked in many offices in my time, and it's nice to see that in offices that I worked in, that the person that may be a person that is the cleaner, he may be the electrician, he may be the technician. But when he's sitting there with the project managers and the directors of the company, nobody makes him feel that you are nothing, because he isn't nothing, he is something. He's a fellow human being. And so we should never look down on people. When we go to countries that people are poorer than us, and we look down on them, when we want to buy something of a poor person, if he's selling pens or he's selling socks, we'll haggle the fruit vendor down to the bare minimum of the price. He wants 100 Ps for a dozen of bananas, and you say, no, I'll give you 50 and 55 and this and that, and you'll haggle him down to the bare minimum. But then when you go to a rich restaurant, and they don't demand a tip, but automatically you're giving them a 500 rupees tip. Because why? You want people to remember your status, that I give this tip here. And yet when it comes to this poor person, you're pushing him down further than what he already is. And this arrogance needs to be removed from us. And the great Sayyidi Ala Hazrat is teaching us here in this parable that he on purpose, he could have asked him to sit anywhere else. The barber, he was happy standing where he was. But Sayyidi Ala Hazrat gave him a place of prominence. One, to make him feel good. You know, it's a two-edged act here, that person now, that Baba, he felt good. That I am being given respect. And who is not happy when they're given respect? He was happy that he was given respect. And when he was given respect, at the same time, he was teaching a lesson to that other person. That look, this person is sitting next to you. Don't think that you are better than this person. Don't think that you can look down on this person. This person is sitting in the same position as you. And this is what Islam teaches us. You know, when we create the rows in the salah, do we have a sign in the masjid that said, all the people that have got a, income over 50,000 at the first row, between 50 and 40,000 second row, 30 to 40, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anywhere, does it? Does it happen that, when you go on the Umrah, you go on the Hajj and you're doing the Tawaf, all the rich people are in the middle, and the poorer you are, the further you have to go, the longer circle? No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So why do we look down on people in our lives? And you see these beautiful videos, I've seen these beautiful videos of when people are opening the fast in places where there are very, very rich people. Very, very rich, powerful people, princes, kings, in fact. And they're sitting there, and the poor person is sitting next to him. I remember seeing a beautiful picture in a hospital. And it said that these 3 specialist doctors, they were specialist doctors, they were reading the Salah, and the Imam of these 3 specialist doctors was the cleaner. This is Islam. So when they chose him to be the Imam, they didn't look at his bank balance. They didn't look at his wealth, they didn't look at his status, they didn't look at his power, they didn't look at his position. They looked at his piety, and as a result of that, they amongst themselves said, you be our Imam. You lead the Salah. And this is what our deen teaches us. And so if this is what our deen teaches us, who are us to have this arrogance, this pride inside ourselves? And as a result of this pride, we start developing ostentation that we think that we're better than others. And it happens in so many different aspects of our life. We have, even when we are worshipping Allah, that ostentation comes inside, that pride, that showing off that I am better. At home we'll read our namaz like a pecking bird, really, really quick. But we're in the masjid. Long qiyam, long sajda, long ruku, Allahu Akbar, long dua. And everybody's thinking, wow, what a pious person. At home, gone. We're reading the Quran. When we're reading at home, we're reading as fast as possible. We're reading it in the masjid, we're reading it in beautiful qiraat so that people can hear us and praise us. And again, if you look at yourself, why are you doing all these things? Are you doing all these things to please these individuals, to show off? To show that you are better than them? To show that you have a beautiful qiraat? To show that you are pious? Who is the judge of your piety? Who will determine who is the most pious person? Will it be these people that are watching you? And you all know the answer. No. Yes, these people may be a witness for you that say, yes, this person came to the masjid. Yes, this person read the salah. Yes, this person used to read the Quran. They may be a witness for you. But who is going to get the greatest reward in the sight of Allah? Allah will decide. Allah will decide who gets the greatest reward, not us. So it's very important that we remove this arrogance from us, remove this mindset from us that we think that we're better than others. Be it when we are reciting a naat, be it when we are, we're in the masjid, be it whatever we are doing in our life, even though it might seem as a good deed, even that good deed of giving money. We're giving the money. Why are we giving the money to people? So that people can take clicks of us on social media and put it on social media that I distributed this and I did this and I did this. Again, what is our intention? Now, I'm not saying it's wrong to have these pictures taken. I'm not saying it's wrong to do all these things. But if our intention is not pure and we're showing off to say that we are better than others, that we have this pride inside us, that we are more powerful, that we have the resources to be able to do these things that you can't do. I'm able to travel in the way of Allah. I'm able to distribute. I'm able to do this. I'm able to recite the Quran. I'm able to, and all of these things. You need to ask yourself, why am I doing these things? People go on the Umrah, they go on the Hajj, and they're taking pictures there. And again, the question is what is your intention? And if our intention is pure, then inshallah will be rewarded. So as Muslims, and Amir Rasul says it many, many times that whatever act you do, whatever you do in your life, you need to ask yourself this question. Why am I doing it? What is my intention in doing it? And you see that on the Madani Muzakara, that before Amir Rasul comes out, he pauses and he stops. And he reads this card in front of him. This card was written by Amir Rasul himself. He wrote it. But he reads it. And these are all the intentions that he makes before he comes out and does the Madani Muzakara. So he reads them himself. He's reminding himself that these are the intentions that I need to make, that why am I coming out? And by having the correct intentions, by having that sincerity inside you, then inshallah that arrogance, that pride, you can keep it under control. Who doesn't like to hear? Who doesn't like to hear people praising them? Everybody likes to hear it. But when people praise you, then that again is a test. That praising of you is a test, that how are you dealing with that praise, asking your heart that, this person just praised you and said, oh, beautiful naat, mashallah, beautiful qiraat, beautiful bayan, beautiful zikr, mashallah. Or when you give in the way of Allah, mashallah, subhanallah, look at that person, he gave 500 pounds, subhanallah. Ask your heart, that what am I feeling at that moment in time? What is my nafs saying to me? So this arrogance, this pride, we need to control it and remove it. And not only remove it as we see with Sayyidi Ali, that when we see it happening, also to try and rectify it as well. So Sayyidi Ali didn't just not have the pride inside him, and he showed that by giving him the seat, but he also on purpose, he could have made him sit somewhere else. He could have made him even sit next to himself. But what he did on purpose, he made him sit next to that person to teach him a lesson that this is not how you should be. This is how you should treat people. And these are the lessons from the past. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, when it comes to Muslims who are more honorable and elevated in the sight of Allah, who are these people? Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Surah Al-Hajarat, ayat number 13, indeed, the most honorable amongst you, according to Allah, is the one who is most pious amongst you. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing and all-aware. So if the most honorable person amongst us is the most pious amongst us, how can you measure that? How can you measure piety? I remember a story comes to mind, viewers on the channel, that there was a person that I personally visited a few times. I went to his house to invite him to the Ijtima. He was clean shaved. And unfortunately, he never read his salah at all. And I was inviting him, I never gave up, every now and then I went to see him. And once, what happened was his father passed away. And he went to Pakistan, he attended his father's funeral, he came back. And I went to his house to do afsos. And whilst I was there, he said to me that, you know what? I saw my father being lowered into the grave. And it hit me. And he said, you know what? That when I become pious like you lot, meaning the Islamic brothers, when I become pious like you lot, I'm going to grow a beard. Once I become pious, I'm going to grow a beard. So I said to him, brother, draw a line and tell me at what point you're going to become pious. What do you have to do to achieve, to pass this exam of piety that you've got that position where you now can clash yourself with piety? How can you determine? Please educate me. And he smiled and looked at me. I said, look, tell me, how can you determine that I'm pious just because I've got a beard? That's no certificate of piety. If it is, then grow one. Yeah? And then you've got a certificate. And he looked at me and said, so, shall I start going to the beard now? I said, what's stopping you? Shall I start coming to the masjid now? I said, what's stopping you? Don't wait for things. Don't think to yourself that, who is the most pious? And so I explained to him that there's no way of me knowing. Maybe his intention, his pure intention of growing the beard, maybe his pure intention of going to the masjid and reading his salah makes him more pious than me, you and everybody that's watching this program now. Only Allah knows. Who am I to say who is the most pious? Who are you to say who is the most pious? Who are we to say that this person isn't pious? Yes, we should have good opinions of others. We should, yes, mashallah, he is pious, but we should never say that this person isn't pious. And again, I reiterate something that I've mentioned many times before, that if a person commits a sin, whatever the sin is, we hate the sin. We hate the sin of adultery, we hate the sin of drugs, we hate the sin of alcohol, we hate the sin of lying, backbiting, swearing, cheating, breaking promises. All of these sins, we hate them. We do not hate the sinner. We do not hate the sinner. And we should try our best to bring that sinner back. So we should never look down at that person. Because if you look down at people, how are they going to ever listen to you? If you say, oh, well, you're a waste of time, you're going into the hellfire, you've got no chance. Get out of my way. I don't want to even be near you. Who are you to decide that? Maybe as a result of you looking down on people, do you know this, viewers of the channel? As a result of you looking down on people, maybe you will be held accountable for that on the Day of Judgment. How you hurt the feelings of a Muslim, how you hurt his heart and put pain inside him. then what will your answer be on that day? How will you answer that you have hurt someone's feelings? So again, as Muslims, we should not have this arrogance inside us, not have this, I'm better than anybody else inside me. And at the same time, we shouldn't have this ostentation inside us, that showing off. Because yes, Allah Azza wa Jalla maybe blessed you with beautiful qiraat, maybe blessed you with a beautiful voice. Maybe bless you with wealth and you're spending in the world, but don't show off. Why are you showing off? Who are you showing off to? If you do something in private, your Rabb will know about it. And again, there's a deep message there. Whatever you do in private, both good and bad, Allah Azza wa Jalla will know about it. And the reward, they say that the reward for giving something, they say give with your right hand so that your left hand doesn't know. We give with our right hand and we want the whole of the social media platform to know about it. And yet we're told give with your right hand so your left hand doesn't know. Something to ponder on. Viewers of my channel, we're going to take a small break now, inshallah. We've got a small package for you, inshallah. When we come back, we're going to continue with this topic of the day and try and learn something more about the great character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Our master, Imam Ahl Sunnat, Ala Hazrat, reviver of Sunnah, eradicator of Bid'ah, scholar of Sharia, guide of Tariqah, Maulana Al-Hafiz, Al-Imam, Al-Qari, Imam Ahmad Raza Khan, alayhi rahmatur rahman. He was born on 10th of Shawwalul Muqarram, on the day of Saturday at the time of Zuhr. Unlike other children, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi had a great childhood. Only at the age of 4.5 years, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi finished reading the full Quran. At the age of 6, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi delivered a detailed speech on the topic of Miladun Nabi sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, front of a large gathering, and he was appreciated by the other ulamas who were also present in that gathering. He rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, in the same age, yani 6 years old, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi found out the direction of Baghdad Sharif, the great city of Sayyidi Ghaus Azam rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. Since that day, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi never stretched his legs towards that city out of respect. At the age of 7, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi started observing fast in the month of Ramadan. Now he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he would respect the masjid so much, to the extent it is said that when he would walk in the masjid, you could not hear his footsteps. He rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi loved reading namaz. And at a very young age, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi would go to masjid and read his 5 daily salah with takbir-e-ula, the first takbir of namaz. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him and forgive us for his sake without any accountability. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam.
Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of the channel, you're watching yesterday, today and tomorrow. Today we're talking a little bit about the character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan. And the reason why we're talking about this great personality is that this is the month of Safar. This is the month that he put a curtain between this world and the next. And so we remember his life, his teachings, his sacrifices, his character, and try and learn something from his life. Before the break, we were talking about an incident that took place in which Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, he didn't like arrogance. He wasn't an arrogant person, and he tried to make sure that arrogance, people that were arrogant, he didn't like them, and he tried to teach them lessons to make them realize that this is wrong. And if we look at society today, nowadays, again, we see that people are looking down on people, people are humiliating people, people are looking at people with disgust because of the blessings that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given them, the power, the status, the education, the authority, all of these things that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given them, and as a result of them, they're looking down. But remember this, I'm going to give you a saying of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "O people, you have one Lord and you have one Father." And he said, "Hear this, an Arab is not superior to a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have superiority over an Arab. Someone with fair skin is not greater than someone with dark skin, nor are the dark skins greater than the fair-skinned. The one who is pious is most superior amongst you. Indeed, the most pious amongst you are the most honorable in the sight of Allah." In that Hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam talking about the Arab not being greater than the non-Arab and the non-Arab being greater than the Arab. But it also mentioned, the dark skin and the light skin. And that again is something that unfortunately we see within some of our Muslim communities, that we look down on those people that have a darker skin. We look up to those people that have a lighter skin. We think that lighter skin, equals to beauty and darker skin doesn't. Who has made this equation up? Who has decided that a lighter skin is more beautiful than a darker skin? The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a lighter skin is not better than a dark skin, and a dark skin is not better than a light skin. I remember once a person, he was a Haushi from Africa, and he said, you see this dark skin, this black skin that I have, I love it. And he was an African, he had a big nose. He said, see this nose, this big nose, I love it. See this tight curly hair? The Africans, they have the really tight curly hair. He said, I love it. He said, you know why? Because Allah gave me this hair. Allah gave me this nose. Allah gave me these thick lips. Allah gave me this color. Who am I to say that it is not beautiful for me? Allah gave me these things. So again, this society puts a lot of pressure on people. And we look down at those people that are dark-skinned. When it comes to doing rishta for our children, we look down on those people that are dark-skinned. We look up at those people that are light-skinned. Rather, what we should be looking is at the piety. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who is most pious amongst you is the most superior. So why is it that we look at the color of the skin to determine who is the better? Who is the better rishta for my son, my daughter? Who is the better, the relationship for my daughter, that I'm going to get my daughter married or my son married? Rather than asking about, the piety, rather than asking about the taqwa, we look at the skin and make a decision, oh no, too dark. No, can't have a dark skin man. Just because Allah Azza wa Jalla bless you with light skin, then you're looking down at these people. Allahu Akbar. What will happen on the Day of Judgment if Allah looks down on you? Because of the way that you treated these people, the way that you look down on these people. This is something that we need to be very wary of. So whether it comes to color, whether it comes to creed, whether it comes to caste, again, even with caste, we see that people mention, oh, I'm of this caste, I'm of this caste, and I'm better than you, and I'm better than you, and he's better than me. What is this? You can sit in gatherings, oh, he's from this caste, he's from that caste, and then I'm not going to get my daughter married to that caste. Oh, I want my daughter to be married in that caste. Does caste make someone superior? Does color make someone superior? Does wealth make someone superior? Does nationality? Here we're told that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, as Arab is not better than Arab. Who is the most superior? The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that the one that is most pious amongst you is the most superior. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the ayat that I mentioned before, that indeed the most honorable amongst you, according to Allah, is the one who is most pious amongst you. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. This is the state that we have to have. That we should never look down on anybody. And so that parable that I mentioned at the beginning of Sayyidi Ahl Hazrat, that's teaching us a lesson. That these great people, they didn't look down on people. So who are me, you two, to look down on? Sayyidi Ahl Hazrat, when it comes to his life, his teachings, his sacrifices, there are many, many things that we can talk about. But one of the great things that he did, one of the great services that he provided to the ummah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was his translation of the Quran into the Urdu language, Kanzul Iman. I can safely say it's probably the best translation in the world. In reading that translation, I've had people read because I can't read Urdu, unfortunately. And now, alhamdulillah, Dawastami has the Urdu English translation of it as well. When you read that translation written by Sayyidi Ahl Hazrat, the word, the expression, the love comes through. And I would advise everybody to please have a copy of Kanzul Iman in their house. Have a copy of Kanzul Iman in their house. And when it talks, you mentioned many times, we've mentioned on Madani Channel, the pious deeds booklet, the pious deeds that Amir Sunnat wants us to try and fill in. It's now on an app, you can download it on your phone. And one of these is, Sayyidi Amir Sunnat, he says that, today, did you recite at least 3 verses of the Holy Quran with translation of Kanzul Iman and commentary of the Holy Quran, Khazain al-Irfan or Nur al-Irfan? 3 verses. By listening to these 3 verses of the Quran, again, that service that Sayyidi Ahl Hazrat did. And they say that if you were to take everything away, forget anything that Sayyidi Ahl Hazrat did, and only you say that the only thing he did in his life was to translate the Quran into the language of Urdu, and he created Kanzul Iman, then he would still be remembered today. he would still be remembered and praised and remembered today. Because just that one thing would be such a great service to us. Such a great service that would be to us. If only he had done that, but he did so much more. And his character was such that it shone through in everything that he did. I'm going to give you an incident that one happened. That there was a rainy season, it was the monsoon season, it was the rainy season. And people, they would go to the masjid and travel, they would go in the rain. Now, Haji Kafayatullah Rahmatullah felt the difficulty of this, and he purchased an umbrella and he gave it as a gift, but he kept it with himself. And when Haji Kafayatullah would see Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullah, he would take the Imam with him to the masjid under the umbrella. And a few days passed, and someone who needed an umbrella requested for one. And the Imam immediately took the umbrella from Haji Kafayatullah and he gave it to the one in need. Now it's raining. He's walking to the masjid. Someone's holding an umbrella for him so that he's not affected by the rain, so he doesn't get a cold, so he doesn't get an ill. And somebody said that, I need an umbrella straight away, without thinking, without pausing, without anything. Give it to this person. Giving it to the needy person. Giving to someone again, that a person needs something or requests something. And we hear that there's, that if you want to give sadaqah, want to give something in the way of Allah, then we are told that give something that you love, something that you need. And again, Sayyidi Al-Hazrat is teaching him a lesson there. Teaching Haji Kafayatullah Rahmatullah a message, teaching us all a message. That when people come to you in need of something, even if you need it, if you can manage without it, then give it to them. Allahu Akbar. And I'm not saying give everything away. Obviously we have needs, we have we have families, we have things that we need in life, but whatever you can spend in the way, whatever you can give in the way of Allah, this is something that we should do. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that someone who desires something, he desires something, then withholds that desire and gives preference to someone over himself, Allahu Akbar, he shall be forgiven by Allah. He shall be forgiven by Allah. That someone who desires something, then withholds that desire and gives that preference over to someone else. He desires to have that umbrella. He desires to have something. You're sitting there and the food is in front of you, the tray is in front of you, the best pieces of meat in front of you, and you think, you know what? Before I take the best pieces, I'll give it to this person, I'll give it to that person. And you eat last. And maybe when you eat last, you might not get the best pieces of meat. It might just be rice left. You wanted the best pieces of meat, but you've given it to everybody else before you've taken. Allah will forgive you. And what greater reward do we need? Allah forgives all the shortcomings that we have, all the sins that we have committed. Have we ever thought about how many sins we've committed on a daily basis? There's people that can remember, I've mentioned it many times before, there's people that can remember all the good deeds. Can we remember the sins that we committed today? If you were to sit down and count the sins that you committed today, the day would finish. We're living our lives committing so many sins. And here are golden opportunities to get Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive us. Viewers of my channel, we're going to take a small break now. We're going to go to the Kalam of the day, inshallah. And then when we come back, we're going to continue with this topic. Let's go to the Kalam of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Mere Mawla, Mere Mawla, Mere Mawla, Mere Mawla, 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 Mawla. Allah ne bulaya hai, Allah ke ghar mein ho, Kabe ka nazara hai, Allah ke ghar mein ho, Allah ne bulaya hai, Allah ke ghar mein ho, Kabe ka nazara hai, Allah ke ghar mein ho. दरबार ये कैसा है, पेशानी से पिघले दिल, दरबार ये कैसा है, पेशानी से पिघले दिल, सजदे में झुकाया है, अल्लाह के घर में हूँ, सजदे में झुकाया है, अल्लाह के घर में हूँ, अल्लाह ने बुलाया है, अल्लाह के घर में हूँ, काबे का नजारा है, अल्लाह
کی ہو، وہ رکن یمانی ہو یا رکن عراقی ہو، ہر کون کو چوما ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، ہر کون کو چوما ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، اللہ نے بلایا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، کعبے کا نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، یہ وقت عزت کا میزاب رحمت کا، یہ وقت عزت کا میزاب رحمت کا، سر پر یہی سایہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، سر پر یہی سایہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، اللہ نے بلایا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، کعبے کا نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، مہمان خدا کے گئے اب فکر نہیں کوئی، مہمان خدا کے گئے اب فکر نہیں کوئی، اللہ نے کھلانا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، اللہ نے کھلانا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، اللہ نے بلایا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، کعبے کا نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، جس سمت نظر اٹھی ایک نور نظر آیا، جس سمت نظر اٹھی ایک نور نظر آیا، پر نور نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، پر نور نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، اللہ نے بلایا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، کعبے کا نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، سجدے میں اجاگر ہے اور سامنے کعبہ ہے، سجدے میں اجاگر ہے اور سامنے کعبہ ہے، مولا نے نوازا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، مولا نے نوازا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، اللہ نے بلایا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، کعبے کا نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، اللہ نے بلایا ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو، کعبے کا نظارہ ہے اللہ کے گھر میں ہو،
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of my channel, you're watching Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow. And today we're talking about the supreme character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah. And some of the things that he achieved in his life. And we mentioned earlier on that one of the great achievements that he had was the translation of the Quran in Kanzul Iman. But there was also another thing that he, from a young age, through his knowledge, he wrote religious verdicts. He gave fatwa. And these fatwa, some of them, not all of them, were compiled into a series of books called Fatawa Razviya. And there were 30 volumes, yes, 30 volumes and more than 22,000 pages. Now this table here, it's 1.5 meters maybe, it wouldn't fit on this table. It probably needs 2 of these tables, maybe 3 of these tables to fit. This is how much fatwa he wrote, how many religious verdicts he gave on many, many topics. And when he was asked a question, his response was coming from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet of Allah. There's so much vast knowledge in there that even today people are benefiting from them fatwa that were wrote, at that time. And he, through his hard work, has come down to us. And it consists of many issues that have been explained beautifully in the light of the Quran, the Hadith, Ijma, and in field rulings of the scholars. And inshallah, people will continue to take benefit from this great work of Sayyidi Allah. And like I said, if you should just take one of the areas of his work and you were to say that he did this and nothing else, then people would still remember it, be it the Kanzul Iman, be it the Fatawa Razia, be it the other books that he has written, and inshallah we'll try and mention some of them as well. But he had, one of the other great characteristics that he would worry and he would make sure that he fulfilled the rights of people. And as Muslims, we keep on saying this on Madani Channel, it's very important that we understand the rights of individuals. And maybe what we do is we think that, people that are older than us, they have a right. But these don't, these kids don't, these people, poor people. Everybody has a right on you. You have a right on others. Your elder brother, younger brother, elder sister, younger sister. Mother, father, aunt, uncle, grandparents, nephew, nieces, your colleagues, your neighbors, they all have rights on you and you have rights over them. And it's part of our duty of Islam to ensure that we understand them rights and make sure that we fulfill them rights. Make sure that we don't hurt or take away the rights of individuals. And Sayyidi Ali Hazrat, he was very concerned about this. And I'm going to give you an event that took place now that will hopefully make us understand his mindset. Imam Ahmad Raza, he said he was sitting in itikaf in a masjid. And he would not eat food after iftar, he would only eat ban. And at the time of suhoor, he would eat a small bowl of custard made of milk, sugar, and rice flour, as well as a cup of chutney, both of which he would receive from home. One night, the ban did not arrive, and he had a firm habit of not asking for food from others. Thus he remained silent. But he did not like this delay. And 2 hours after Maghrib, a child arrived with the ban. And Imam Ahmad Raza slapped the child and asked him why he took so long. However, the Imam later realized that the child was not at fault. Rather, the one who sent him was at fault. And so after suhoor, it came to him, he was thinking about it, and he called upon the child. And he said to the young child, and said to the child that I was at fault for hitting you last night. It was not your fault, but it was the fault of the one who sent you late. So he sought forgiveness from this child. And not only that, he lowered his head, and he said, so hit me on my head. I hit you on your head, now you hit me on my head. He then removed his hat, and he insisted that he should hit him. The people sitting in itikaf were worried that the child became worried, and the child was concerned that what is happening here? And the child put his hands together and said, I forgive you, I forgive you. And Sayyidi Ali Hazrat said to him, that you are a child. You don't have the right to forgive me. Hit me. The child refused to hit him. Imam Ahmad Raza Khan again asked for his box, and he took out a handful of money and he said, I will give you this, hit me. The child continually refused and said, I have forgiven you, I have forgiven you. Allahu Akbar. In the end, the Imam took hold of the child and hit himself several times on the head with the child's hand. And he then gave the child money and let the child go. Allahu Akbar. Do we ever ponder over our actions? Do we even think about what we have done? Because in the majorities, if that had happened to us, and even if afterwards we felt a little bit of remorse, okay, yeah, I was wrong, yeah, I think I was wrong, I shouldn't have done that, should I? Yeah. Chalo, I won't do it again. I'll make sure I won't do it again. Okay, you've made the intention, you've realized that you're wrong, you've made sure that you won't do it again, but what about sorting out the situation? What about seeking forgiveness from that individual? Well, it's only a kid, isn't it? It's only a kid. Still doesn't give you permission. You still need to seek permission and forgiveness from that individual. If you hurt the rights or hurt the feelings of any individual, be it older, younger, poorer, then you still need to seek forgiveness from them. So again, in this particular case, Sayyidi Ali Hazrat is teaching us a lesson that this child is only a child. And he's teaching everybody that's watching that, look, this child does not have the right to forgive me. He's only a child, he cannot forgive me. He must take compensation. And the only compensation is that he hits me in return and I give him a gift. How many of us would do this? How many of us would try and make sure that we fulfill the rights of our individuals? We won't do it. And this is something that we need to be concerned about. That would we fulfill each other's rights? Would we be concerned about ensuring that we've not hurt anybody's feelings? And if we are amongst those fortunate ones, that if we make the mistake and we realize that we've made a mistake, what would we then do? And our pious predecessors have taught us that if you make a mistake, repent. Repent in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal, not later on, not tomorrow, not on Friday, not in Ramadan, now. Straight away, repent straight away. And then, if it is a hukuk of someone individual, if it's the rights of an individual, then go and seek forgiveness from that person. And even if that, but no, it's okay, no, it wasn't, but no, please forgive me, say that you forgive me. Insist that you get that person to forgive you. And we see here from Sayyidina Ali that what he did is that he not only, convinced him to forgive him, but he also gave him a gift as well. We go to someone and say, oh, please forgive us, I made a mistake. No, you didn't do anything. I didn't do anything, okay, forget it then. And you think, well, he didn't feel anything. But he did. This is again his humbleness, that he's not admitting that you hurt his feelings. If you feel that you've hurt someone's feelings, then tell them, I feel that I've hurt your feelings, please forgive me. No, you didn't hurt me. Okay, but forgive me anyway. Maybe you don't want to forgive me because you're embarrassed, but at least in your heart, please forgive me if I've done anything wrong. So developing this mindset. And Sayyidina Ali that he was a person of compassion, a person that well-wished for people, a person that looked out for people. Dear Islamic brothers and viewers of the channel, we're going to take a small break now. We've got a final package of the day. We're going to go to that package of the day. Then we come back and quickly try and add a few things to the topic of the day before we finish. Let's go to the final package of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
A beggar once knocked on the door of the house of Sheikh Sayyiduna Habib Ajami rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh. His wife had gone to the neighbor's house to make arrangement to light fire so that she could cook bread. Leaving behind the dough she had already prepared. The Shaykh rahmatullahi ta'ala gave that dough in charity to the beggar in her absence. When she came back and did not find the dough, she asked about it. The Shaykh rahmatullahi ta'ala said that someone had taken it to bake bread. On her insistence, he finally revealed that he had given it in charity. She replied, Subhanallah, this is indeed a very good act. We also need something to eat. Immediately, a person brought some meat and bread. The Shaykh rahmatullah said, look how quickly it was returned to you, along with prepared meat gravy. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. May Allah Azza wa Jal have mercy on them and forgive us without accountability for their sake. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah, viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching yesterday, today and tomorrow. And it always happens, doesn't it, that when we're coming towards the end of the program, we realize that we wanted to cover so much, but we've covered very little, and I hope that we've learned something today. I want to mention very quickly some of the things that how Sayyidina Ali Hazrat, his character was, and how he would be in the community that he was. He said that after he would perform the Fajr prayers, reciting his wazaif and incantations, he would pray for each person by name. Each person by name, and the people remained hopeful of being present on that list of names. So when people asked you to do dua for him, he would remember your name and he would do the dua for you. Sayyidi Ayub Ali Rahmatullah states that I was very worried one day and I requested Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullah to supplicate for me. He supplicated and he said to me and my brother, Sayyid Kanayat Ali, I've included your names on my list of people that I pray for. It is slowly becoming longer and longer, and I have memorized all of the names and pray for them by name on a daily basis. Allahu Akbar. So many times. Even just before I came here, I was on the phone to somebody and this brother said to me that inshallah, at the end of the month, inshallah, I'm going to go to Medina. And I said to him that, look, if you remember me, please remember me in your thoughts. And if you remember me, then present my salam in the court of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Sayyidi Ali Hazrat, he not only made a habit of people would come to, and you can imagine that this is the great Imam of the time, the great scholar of the time. How many people would come to him for du'as? Nowadays we have, the great pious personalities that we look up to. We go to them, please do du'a for me, please do du'a for me. People ask them to do du'a. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, he would remember their name and he would remember them up by it. He didn't have a sheet of paper and add it to it, and then when it's time for du'a, open the book and remember. No, he would memorize the name. And you said that the list is getting long now, but I've memorized all of the names. I've memorized all of the names, and I pray for them by name on a daily basis. It is stated that Sayyidi Ala Hazrat had a heart which cared for everyone from the Ahl Sunnah, feeling their pain and concerns. He would regularly participate in funerals and constantly pray for the deceased during and after the funeral. The people present felt as though the Imam was interceding for the fortunate person, having them forgiven by Allah Azza wa Jalla. This going there and feeling the pain of the people. Nowadays, when we go to a funeral, it's just a ritual. And when we go to a funeral, why are we going to a funeral? This again, when it comes to our intention, why are we going? We go there so that people will see us, that individual will see us, he will see us. Oh yeah, you came to the funeral. Rather than going there to seek forgiveness for the person. Rather than going there so that we get ibrat there, we learn something. We become less heedless in our lives. We see that this person has passed away. Our intentions, we need to question our intentions in everything that we do when we go into a funeral as well. And so it's very important that we question our intentions. It's very important that we are there for when people need us. Nowadays, we only go to people when we need them. We should go to people when they need us. It is a sunnah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to visit people when they are sick. Go and visit people when they are sick. Go and give your condolences when people pass away. Go and attend the funeral prayers with good intentions. All of these things need to be good intentions. Not just because, it's a powerful person. If I don't go, then, in future I won't get my seat. In future I won't get my promotion. In future this won't happen to me. That should not be your intention. Your intention should be purely for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And also to put happiness in the heart of a fellow Muslim. That when you go and visit someone that is sick, when you inquire about someone that's ill, you're putting happiness in their heart. Nowadays we've got social media. How many times on social media do we send a message out? A couple of days ago I wasn't feeling well. And a couple of brothers found out about it. I was just a little bit tired, nothing serious, alhamdulillah. I was just a bit tired. And a few brothers sent me messages, beautiful messages, And I felt happy in my heart that, people have done a dua for me, they remembered me. We should remember the people that are ill and ask about them, inquire about them, look out for them. Unfortunately nowadays, communities come to such that people get ill and nobody knows about it. Not only that, we have instances where people pass away and don't know about it. Here in the UK, Dawah Islami has a funeral service in which we take the body from the moment that the person has passed away, be it in the hospital and the home. We'll deal with all the paper, we'll do everything. We'll shroud the body, we'll wash the body, we'll bury the body, we'll do everything completely free of charge. The only thing is obviously the cost of the plot. Everything else we do completely free of charge. And this is the service that we are providing in many, many places here in the UK. And in that we are seeing that, there was one instance last year, I remember, just thinking about it. A person had passed away in his home and nobody found out about it for at least 2 to 3 months. And his body was decomposing in his home. So it's very hard for the brothers to perform the ghusl, but then the mind starts to think that how did this happen? Is our community become such that we are not looking out for each other? We're not caring for each other? We're not worrying about each other? Is that what we become, that it's, as long as I'm all right, I don't care about anybody? This is not what our deen teaches us. Our deen teaches us to look out for others. You've all heard the famous story where the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was in Makkah Sharif, entrails of camels were thrown on him. And he would show patience. Then what would the result be? So this patience, this inquiring about people, these are all the sunnahs of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we need to follow them and adopt them in our life. And be there for people. Be there when the people are passed away. Be there when someone passes away and help them people. Allahu Akbar. It is mentioned, whoever prays for the goodness of a Muslim, men and women, then on the day of judgment, when he will pass by their gatherings, it will be said, this is the one who prayed for your goodness in the world. And they will intercede for him with the permission of Allah, and they will take that person to paradise. Allahu Akbar. It is mentioned in the Quran, viewers of Madani Channel, that, O beloved, seek forgiveness for the sins of your special and common believing men and women. Allahu Akbar. Surah Muhammad, verse 19. So when we do dua, we should do dua in such a way that we do dua that Ya Allah accept all. Forgive the sins not only of myself. I mean, Islam teaches us. Ya Allah, forgive my sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of my parents. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of all of the ummah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What have I lost by saying them 3 phrases? By just saying, Ya Allah, forgive my sins. Not only are we doing dua that your parents' sins are forgiven, not only are we doing dua that all of the ummah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of those sins are forgiven. So these messages of the past, we see that we need to learn from them. And when it comes to Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, we find out that the life, the teachings of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, if we look at Amir al-Sunnat, he follows in his footsteps. He believes in his teachings, and he tells us that if we stay on the path of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, then inshallah nothing will happen to us. Keep watching Madani Channel and learn about his life, read about his life, acquire this knowledge, empower yourself by reading about our pious predecessors, by reading about the companions of the Prophet of Allah, by reading about the seerah of the Prophet of Allah, that we can empower ourselves with the way that we should live our life. These are practical examples. The Quran tells us, the Hadith tells us, but when we read the seerah, we see it practically. When we read the life of the companions of the Prophet of Allah, we see it practically. When we read about the seerah, the life of the pious predecessors, we see it practically, how to live our lives. So viewers of Madani Channel, you've been watching yesterday, today and tomorrow. And today we've talked very, very briefly about some of the attributes, the characteristics of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. Try and learn about his life, learn about the pious predecessors, and try and follow in the footsteps. You've been watching yesterday, today and tomorrow. Until the next time, keep watching Madani Channel. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
The special favor of Allah.